Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Let's see what we got here. So starting off, I see KZIA up. Let's actually look at the low floats. So today, low floats are KZ8, and let me make sure y'all on the right screen. Yep, okay. KZIA leading the charge with 6 million shares traded. It is getting overrun by IVP a little bit, but IVP is down 42%. It's still a low float, but it's only 15 cents with 7 million shares traded. KZIA looks like it's catching up with that very quickly. Behind that, we have SGBX, $4.18%. VSIG at $1.19 at 1 million. So right now the main focus is on these two, KZIA and IVP. And I think IVP is in vitro something. So I need to look at that because I know KZI is connected to some kind of breast cancer or something. We know the mover from yesterday, OMHA or whatever it was a women's health thing as well. So that could be a continuing theme in the market that we've seen, but we're going to look into it. Let's look at high floats. High floats higher floats. Nvidia is up here, got 1 million shares traded, so it is the only one that's reached 1 million, that's reached up here, that moves with range. So doesn't look like too much focus is down there. Let's go over to the main. So this is KZIA on the 1 minute. So it hit a high up here, and apparently I've looked at this before, and this is already marked up from, I guess, a previous time, because I put these on here as price level and not I don't know if these are peaks or what these price levels are. So I'm gonna go through and actually re-look at this, but it looks like it respected them pretty good. This 1026, it hit during after hours, or maybe was this after hours? Let's see. Yeah, after hours, and then went back up there during pre-market here. So 1026, kind of a problem for it. Low in the pre-market was $8, kind of like around the $8 flat level, and it actually hit it back here, spiked down to 8 there. So we'll see what kind of structure builds under this 1026. Let's go ahead and, so from this top side here, we have what looks like a little bit of a downtrend. Then from here, let's see, zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here's an idea here. $8 and kind of started to trend up. We'll see how it plays within this range. But it is meeting the price criteria like that. It's $9.13, up 58%. 6 million something shares traded. So I like all of that. We'll see how it trades up this level. See if this idea can hold down here around the $8 flat. Point of control right now is at 913. On the 5 minute, it is 902, and on the 15 minute, it is 916. And let me see if I can get my chat up here. Because good morning, Hebrew. KZIA is what is the standout in the low floats today. Get that down there. Yep. Okay, now we're good. All right. So also today is Wednesday. So Tuesday or Monday was kind of like nasty. Tuesday we had the Cloudflare outage. Now it is Wednesday, right? So we're gonna see how Wednesday wants to treat us. It's crazy. It's like midweek now. Everything is kind of okay, but now things are kind of the only thing I with Wednesday is my worst trading day, statistically, and I want to make sure that I'm patient and don't buy highs because a lot of times on Wednesdays I get massacred on trades like this, especially when it's continuation on a specific topic like breast cancer or women's health. It's a little bit different than trading something like AI or something like that that is more proven. But let's go in and do a little research on case the other stock that we had yesterday though. I need to pull that up. I think it was OMA. O-H. I can't even remember what it was. Something. I forget. Okay, so let's jump over here to a little bit of research, as that is taking a little break. All right, Nvidia's 24 billion AI deal blitz has Wall Street asking questions. Nvidia has invested 23.7 billion in AI companies so far in 2025. So Nvidia is one that I will notate. Headlining. Then we have Target partners with OpenAI in bid to reverse sales. Oh my gosh, sales slump. So Target's name is in the news. Watch that one. Nvidia caps Mag 7 earnings. Oh, OLMA. That's the one. Appreciate that, Hebrew. We're gonna look at that in a minute. So great Bitcoin crash means it's lagging gold and a lot more. Leak shows U.S. unemployment surged in past 4 weeks. So way more unemployment coming through. Wall Street braces for Nvidia earnings. Rotation from tech leads investors to dividend paying stocks. Exactly. Come on back to the dividend paying stocks, boys. I have never stopped buying. I'm still buying. U.S. is the biggest recipient of Chinese loans. Okay. Will Jenkins' journey to grow freight brokerages. My screen is black. What in the? Screen is black. It is definitely black. Okay. All right. Let me flip through these and make sure. Let's see. Trading. Interesting. I think that will fix it. Then let me see. This one. Okay, that's not black. Boom. Boom. Oh, that's working. Cool. Okay, back to main. Okay, we're good. All right, so Nvidia's 24 billion. Appreciate that call out, RixCon. Nvidia's 24 billion AI deal blitz. This is what I was just reading. I notated Nvidia being a pretty much headliner. Anything that's really big that people can just see visually very quickly, we know they're probably going to be watching. Target partners with OpenAI in bid to reverse sales slump. Nvidia caps Mag 7 earnings with a dose of AI jitters. Great Bitcoin crash means it's lagging gold. Leak shows U.S. unemployment surged in past 4 weeks. Rotation from tech leads investors to dividend paying stocks. For some reason, they have ExxonMobil and Oracle there. So Will Jenkins' journey to grow freight brokerages, profit slide at Target, hints at meager holiday season for the retailer. Quarterly profits tumble at Target, hinting at more meager holiday. Okay. Lowe's post stronger than expected profit on consumer. So Lowe's, let me notate that. Oh, Lowe's. Whoops. I put Lowe's. It's supposed to be Low. Okay, 232 bucks. Saudi crown prince seeks a burnished image with corporate America's seeks to burnish image with corporate America's top executives. Senate to grill Trump's pick for CFTC head on crypto regulation. Hermes raises offer for whatever that is. Okay, so let's right before we go and see what they're talking about down there. Let's go look back at KZAI. So this one is just trading within this little some type of structure here. It may have a little bit of range, which could be good to capture some profit. We know the high was $10.25, and we'll see how it holds these lows around $8. All right, so let's go ahead and research that before we go any further on KZAI. IA. Okay, Kazia Therapeutics Limited, together with its subsidiaries, operates as an oncology-focused biotechnology company in Israel. The company's lead development candidate is this word, a small molecule brain penetrant inhibitor of some type of kinase, mammalian target, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's get back to some English. Primary center, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, so clinical trial to treat advanced solid tumors and ovarian cancer. The company has collaborations with the Australian and New Zealand Children's Oncology Group. Let's see. Uh, they were incorporated in 1994 and based in Sydney, Australia, but it says that it's a biotechnology company in Israel. So let me notate that. So Israel based in Sydney, Australia, or Sydney, yeah. Okay, and was incorporated in 94 and did a name change in 2017. So incorporated. $2017. Okay, let's look at that float. Looking like the float is a what? Float 795. What? 795 million? That's a huge float. That is crazy. It says the so the outstanding shares on TOS is showing like 1 million something. And so I would be expecting the float to be around there. Look at this. Implied shares outstanding is 1 million, right? But the float is 795. How make it make sense? Make it make sense. How? How is the float higher than shares outstanding? Okay, so that is weird information right there that I will definitely notate. Float is 795, but but the outstanding shares is 1 million. Your float is supposed to always be lower than your outstanding shares, if you didn't know that. That's why we can use TOS shares to kind of calculate that the float is lower than the outstanding shares. So let's say if it has outstanding shares of 20 million, well, we know that the float should be somewhere, it might be 15 million, might be 10 million, might be 1 million, but it'll be somewhere under that outstanding shares. All right, so that is very weird. Outstanding shares. And that's probably what people saw, and they're like, whoa, 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 what is happening here? Okay, so all of that is notated. And let me move that up here. Activate. I don't know if it's gonna hold up with those kind of metrics. You know, Cloudflare is fixed now. People can actually get their information. Things aren't really down. So let me go back over here so we looked at the profile. Let's see if the news differs from what I'm seeing in TOS. Achieves initial blah blah blah, delivers Q4 business updates. That was 15 hours ago. Discuss overall survival data, potential NDA filing. Okay. Yeah, that's very weird right there. Let's go ahead and go back to, and the other one that was up here was IVP. I believe that's in vitro. IVP. Nope, that is not in vitro, actually. Inspire Veterinary Partners. Okay, that's trash. I thought it was in vitro. I believe we saw one time. It was in vitro, and they were doing like the contraceptives and all that, and it went up quite a bit, but that's not it. So jumping back over to Yahoo Finance. That's why we do our due diligence. And also, let's go see if there's any shelf registrations on KZIA. No shelf registrations, but it's kind of like, it's almost like it's a search and rescue mission for yourself from these stocks, right? You want to do the best at researching so you can see, okay, well, if you're going to take the risk, at least know the variables that's out there. So back over here to NVIDIA. Let's see. Well, actually, let's just go through the news here. So this came out 15 hours ago, 26 minutes ago.
And weighing in on who could. President Trump once again weighing in on who could replace Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell next year. And Jennifer Schonberger is at the White House with all the details. Jen.
Hi, Josh. We are actually awaiting Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's departure right here in front of the West Wing. But earlier today in the Oval Office, President Trump made some news hinting that he may have already started interviewing candidates for the next Federal Reserve Chair, and that he already thinks he knows who he's going to pick.
I think I already know my choice. Well, I like him, but he's not going to take the job here as is. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people, and frankly, I'd love to get the guy currently in there out right now.
The 5 candidates on that short list to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve include current Fed governors Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller.
Well, actually, Senate, looking over here at the NQ, we'll continue that real quick. But looking over here at the NQ, it is looking like there is a little bit of a slowdown and uptick a little bit today. We fell from 25K or 25,830 all the way down here again. And so let me see, can I just 15 minute, let me go to a daily 90-day 360. Let's just go max daily. Okay, so If you look at the overall, how we've been trading here, we've got a low of 24,176. It bounced back up to 26. We revisited, but we made a higher low here on the daily chart for the NQ. So we got a little bit of a higher low here, and we'll see if this continues to hold up, right? Because the end of the year, of course, we know the end of the year, people are going to take profits. They may have some kind of tax strategies they want to implement. And so we were expecting during this time that a little bit of sell-off will come, but with the shutdown and all of that, it kind of gave this a little bit more gas to the downside. But we can see that still there's some uptrends going here, and we'll see if it continues to play back upward above the 25,000s. Let's go to back over to the news here and see what they're talking about with this Fed chair.
Former Fed Chair Kevin Warsh, as well as Director of the National Economic Council of Advisors Kevin Hassett, and the current head of fixed income at BlackRock, Rick Reeder. Now, the president seemed to hint that while there are standard candidates that we know of, that perhaps there may be some surprising picks as well. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who has been leading the interview process for the next Fed chair, said that the president is going to be sitting down with candidates soon. Bessent expected to wrap up his second round interviews with candidates by Thanksgiving. The president, for his part, said he would love to get current Fed Chair Jay Powell out as soon as possible, but that people are telling him not to do it. These comments coming as the president was surprised by the Saudi crown prince, who committed to increasing Saudi Arabia's investment in the U.S. economy to $1 trillion from $600 billion previously. Both sides are said to be honing in on an export license for AI chips to the kingdom as well. An announcement expected on that later this afternoon. The president also said that China's purchases of U.S. agriculture are on time, but urged Treasury Secretary Bessent to speed that up. Now, this is the first time in 7 years that the Saudi crown prince has visited the White House, and the president pulled out all the stops for His Highness's visit, from a drum roll to military on horses, and a flyover that consisted of 3 F-35 fighter planes as well as F-15s. Tonight, there is expected to be a black tie dinner here at the White House, and tomorrow there is going to be a business forum. Both President Trump and the Crown Prince will attend, along with dozens of CEOs. So perhaps more deal announcements to be made. Josh?
All right, Jen, thank you.
Okay.
You were telling clients that stocks were holding up despite that tightening liquidity because of, you were saying, the AI story, the AI narrative. And I was wondering if you think that disconnect you're kind of pointing to there, is that sustainable into year end?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously hoping that Bitcoin catches up with the equity market rather than the other way around. And, one reason for hope would be this improving liquidity environment. Having said that, there were, of course, two more structural negative stories for the equity market. One was that the December Fed cut was put in doubt. And, of course, a lot of the bullishness was based on the idea that, the AI story is very strong, the equity market is very strong, and maybe in a bubble. And the Fed is cutting into that. And that is, of course, a very bullish development, because usually the Fed is leaning against these type of U.S. equity market moves. Now, if the Fed would not cut, that removes part of the bullish story. I don't think that would be the end of the bull market, but it would certainly lead to a pullback, and we're seeing part of that. Now, Citi still expects a cut. Our economists still think December will be a cut, at least if we should get the employment data, because I expect weak employment data for October and November. If that comes out in time for the Fed meeting, we expect the Fed cut. That might be helpful. The other point you question is AI narrative. That has also weakened, admittedly, and there were many questions asked about, OpenAI in particular and so forth, and that has led to a pullback too. But we don't forget we get NVIDIA earnings this week, so So that could reset the AI narrative.
Well, on the AI, what's interesting, Dirk, is you have these questions. I'm curious to get your take on it, on this sort of AI-driven debt financing, big tech issuing billions in bonds. I mean, do you look at that, Dirk, and say, okay, that's healthy, or no, that's bubble behavior?
I mean, it's a normal part of what happens. In 2000, you had a lot of debt issuance, of course, for the internet build-out, and that was not the sign that the bubble was over at the time. And of course, the hyperscalers in particular have very strong balance sheet, negative net debt, and could issue a lot. I think it's more the neo clouds and so forth where people get more concerned. We saw some of the CDS markets starting to move. For some of the sort of smaller companies outside of the hyperscalers, and that is never a great sign. But I would say just because the balance sheet is so solid of the hyperscalers, there is a fair amount of debt capacity left, and it's just a matter of which companies will have to finance it.
Here are the 4 reasons why investors' decisions are so dependent on NVIDIA. First up, everything in AI is connected to NVIDIA. It's still the daddy of AI, and it has huge relationships with some of the biggest tech names out there, the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts. And also, when NVIDIA reports earnings, whether it's a beat or a miss, it moves markets wildly. And that's especially important right now when fears of an AI bubble and sky-high valuations are particularly heightened. Number 2, it's used as a geopolitical tool. Now, what I mean by that is that when it comes to trade negotiations, Washington has been using NVIDIA as an important bargaining chip when having talks with China and even Saudi Arabia. Third, it's technology. Now, NVIDIA's AI chips are still the most desirable chips in the AI sector, though it is facing increased competition, especially from the likes of AMD. But for now, NVIDIA is still number 1 when it comes to AI chips. And finally, number 4, you've guessed it, it's size. NVIDIA is still the world's largest public listed company out there. And briefly, it was worth more than $5 trillion earlier this year. So that's why everyone on Wall Street is laser focused on NVIDIA.
NVIDIA's a new spot, huh?
Let's look ahead a little bit more broadly as well to the holiday season, because you guys just did some survey work on what people are planning to spend, because we know consumer sentiment is not great right now. So what did you find?
Yeah, so it was interesting to see. We were mostly curious because from third-party services, we had seen, the top 10% is spending 50% of retail sales. So that made us question, what about everyone else? So we surveyed what would make up 45% of American consumers today in terms of household, and they're not looking too hot. Interestingly enough, they were looking more for value, and so they're looking for promo. So unfortunately, right now, I'm not seeing a lot of promotions. The promotions we saw were in October, so we likely do feel there's a pull forward. They did say 2/3 of the 1,000 consumers that we surveyed said they were already either shopped for ahead of Thanksgiving for Christmas gifts, or they were going to wait just before Thanksgiving for that value. The other reason, or the other item we're still seeing is if they're not getting the promo out, they're looking for quality. So is this brand something that I'm loyal to? Is the quality really there? Then I will spend that extra buck. They're really focused on paying the rent, paying groceries. So again, those essentials is really priority, but they are saying, almost everyone across the board said, it's expensive. Yeah. Everything is really expensive right now. They're taking out new debt. They are getting more debt. So if we look at buy now, pay later, that's increased. But again, we're seeing those numbers and that debt also increase there. So I think it's a really difficult time for the consumer, and there's only been more that's been mounting in recent weeks for them.
So how is that going to translate then into individual companies during the holiday season? I know, for example, you're paying attention to the off-price retailers, right? That they might benefit from this.
Yeah, so TJ is really well set up. I mean, TJ has been a winner in off-price. Burlington has actually been turning around in terms of their strategy. Merchandising's looking much better. I've been walking the stores and store checks, and to be quite honest, they look really good. I think they're the best positioned. But across the board, I feel a lot of the brands and retailers have been listening to consumer interest, and they're headed in the right way for trends. So if I'm talking about denim still has legs. There's a lot of newness that they've added in denim. Leather, there's been more. I was talking about the biker jacket being like the skinny jean, and then now we're having bombers in terms of leather. So again, there's newness out there that the consumer could gravitate toward and maybe see to to spend on maybe one item or two items. And they did say clothing is a top priority for their spend this, so either for themselves or for someone. So I think they're well positioned in that, in terms of having what consumers want, and also in terms of beauty. Like TJ's doing great with beauty for both TJ Maxx and also Marshalls, which again for Target, they used to be that standout for beauty, but now everyone's really gone into it. And actually beauty is the one that I am seeing discounted because there's so everyone is doing beauty.
Yeah, so they have to set themselves apart. This makes me want to go shopping. Jessica,
Anytime.
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. So back over here, KZAI. We saw the news on it. We've seen that there's definitely some kind of, what do you call it? Let me see, activate this and move it a little bit. This is the news that I wrote down, though. The float is 795. I should probably change this to million. 795 million. Outstanding shares was like 1.67 million. So that doesn't make sense on that part. It did not have any shelf registrations or anything, but this is probably why it's trading weird. People went in, they read, and they're like, yo, something is awry here. This is the idea that I saw forming on it, that I'm looking for it to break down right through here. So maybe like the 825s right up this line, and then we had a descending trend as well. So kind of forming a pennant, looking for it to break down these price levels. Let's go back over to, so strategies, market correction. Okay, let me refresh our research, see if anything else comes out. Okay, so it says Adobe nears a $1.9 billion deal for software provider SEMrush. WSJ, so Adobe, working on a $1.9 billion deal, and I don't know how it says nears the deal, so hasn't happened yet, but let's just see what what it's looking like. Adobe. And I spelled that absolutely wrong. Actually, no, I didn't. I spelled it right, but that's not the ticker. Okay, Adobe, how much volume do you have? Do people really care about this news today? Adobe only has 3,000 shares traded. No, we're good. We need something. If they care about it, if it's on the top page or whatever, and it's been 15 minutes and the volume just isn't rushing in there, then yeah, it's not going to be something that we can look at yet. Investors pull record 523 million from BlackRock's flagship Bitcoin ETF. As Lovable hits 200 million ARR, its CEO credits staying in Europe for its success. And everything else there we've already seen. Target cuts earnings outlook. I already got Target listed. AI, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So NVIDIA earnings 11 minutes ago. I thought did we just see that one? Maybe we didn't.
Earnings on deck. NVIDIA, face of the AI trade, earnings on deck. What are you watching for, Doug? What are the key metrics you're going to make a beeline for?
It's all about the guidance for next quarter, for Q4, their fiscal Q4.
You expecting good things there?
I think it'll be good. Yeah. I think it'll be okay. And I think there's two things that I would put into that. One is Street is looking for about $62 billion in revenue for Q4. Typically, NVIDIA guides up, call it kind of 2 to 3% on the Street. I think they probably do something like that, maybe even a little bit better. And I think that's probably a relief, certainly given what's going on in the AI trade right now. The second thing, though, is this $500 billion number that Jensen put out at GTC just a few weeks ago.
Andre called out SGBX. So a couple of things that I would look for. First of all, SGBX needs more volume. Here's the low float scanner here. So I see KZIA, and we've already seen the red flags on KZIA. For SGBX, though, it needs more volume. Only having 1 million shares when there's something down 45% that has 8 million shares. And there's something up 45% that has almost 8 million shares. It's got to compete with these outliers, right? IVP and IA. Now, maybe volume comes in there or something like that, but we'll see. SBGX also does not have catalyst on the day. KZAI also had catalyst on yesterday evening. So these are some evening catalysts kind of dragging into this morning. We haven't seen any fresh catalysts that I'm seeing right here on these that have popped up on the low float. So I'll be very careful. Let me see what just popped in. Rhyme, but this is kind of cheaper, so it is what it is there. All right, so yeah, let's go look at SGBX. SGBX here, a whole lot of chop. Went up to right around 430, coming back down, came down here to 381. So it's up 21%, but that volume is what would probably keep most people away, especially with the competition it's got on the board right now. Right, let's jump back over to research.
He said they have 500 billion in demand between this year and next. And if you kind of do the math on that, there's like 10 percentage points in growth upside to where the street's at for revenue next year. And so I think we start to see a little of that flow through on the guide. But then I think we also get some more commentary about what that'll look like for next year.
What's your take on the China business, by the way? Because they're not modeling any revenue from China. Yeah. And I'm curious how you see that business developing from here. Or do you think, Doug, listen, it's just too hard to say because I don't know how U.S.-China trade relations are going to go?
I think it's all upside from a stock perspective. I don't think there's anything in anybody's models for China at this point.
All right, so we're seeing another tap down here on KZAI, and this is the level that I was looking just to break down. It needs to give up so something else can come up on the day and play. And it just snapped down to 822s. Looking for it to get on down through the lows down here of the whole dollar level. So we'll see. Oh, you said you're stuck with bags on SGBX. Yeah, SGBX, it's got to compete on the day. People got to come back into it. And of course it is cheaper. So we'll see. It's not that cheap. It's $4 per share. But you know, this one came down, wicked through this level of the 821s. And we just want to see it. So the bottom here was 821. This is a new upward idea. So this will be a new level for it to try to break. Let me get the right tool. Needs to break down this 825 level. So it's got two uptrend ideas. It broke down one, and we'll see if it continues to test this one, or will it fall back through to the 825. Either way it goes, it's kind of close. But yeah, 850s, you know, what's this top 820 or 920. I just don't know if that if that information is correct as far as how high the float is on this one. It has slowed down quite considerably, especially with being with this price range. If somebody really wanted to push it and it had that low float, it will be getting active. But I'm just not sure with the way it's trading. It's trading more like that higher float style, especially in pre-market. It's still up 47%, but I mean, that was just initial volume taking it up there. Where did it actually come from? Let's see. So it came from $5.83 yesterday afternoon. And yeah, so just kind of doing a little walk down. Maybe this is an idea right here. So it made a low here. Will it continue to walk down this level? We had some type of uptrend, but we also still have a overall downtrend, but no real structure from this level of the 940s downward. So I don't know, kind of confusing. I'm not looking to trade it anyway. 8 million shares traded. Will it wake up? Will it not? I'm not really in the boat for this one. SGBX dipped on back down. How high did you get in on SGBX? You said you got in at you just want to get out flat. So 476. Woo. Okay. That is let's see. So where would it need to go? Let's look at the daily chart on SGBX. So SGBX closed yesterday at 341. Okay, so it's trading right around the top side of this little level. Let me get rid of these. Remove, remove, and remove. Okay, so it had a previous peak right here at 406, which is kind of trading it right now at 406. Let me duplicate, bring this down. So 406 right there is literally where it's trading. It had a little gap here. To the upside is $5 up there. So higher gap is 5. Oops. But again, it does not have catalyst. So we'll see if it becomes one of those that can hold up without catalyst. Yesterday, we saw a couple of them come up, but they kind of got thwarted on the way up. Let's go and mark this. This is the higher gap part. So let's edit higher daily gap fill. Then down here, coming into this lower part is 430. So duplicate 430, drag this down. Got about 430, edit that. And this is going to be the lower daily gap. Okay. Right. Jump back over here. And this one just continues to press its way out. Went up back up there to 850s, but continue to find that selling pressure. I need to go to the daily chart on KZAI, see what it's looking like. Daily chart on KZAI, let me back up a little bit. So it was up there at 922. It's down at 840 something now. Previous peak was around $8 flat, so that's why it's probably bounced off of here. So we'll mark this as, well, really this isn't a standout peak. It actually faced some struggle here. I would say this could be possible support, but it could become resistance. So I put possible daily support instead of possible peak because it's not really a standout peak. But possible daily support at the $8 flat. Okay. These other levels, now this is a peak level for sure, 882, but it's below that now. So let me rename that as daily. So peak level. Okay, and let's go ahead and activate, move this up just a little bit. Peaked out there a couple of times at that 890. Not sure about this one. I don't really care about a 15-minute. I only want daily on this one. So, okay. So we got our levels there. Let's pop back over. And this is what the levels are looking like. So we got price, or wait, what is this price? 1020. Not sure what that is. Let me back up a little bit. Oh, that's not even clear. Okay. Get that off of there. Remove. All right, so this one just really flat trading in here around this 850, forming this tight little range, but I think it's more and more people are reading up on it and saying, oh boy, this one could be a dropper. Let's jump back over to the research.
This said they do zero business there. I mean, that was a recent comment from him as well. And so even though we got the unlock with the H20 restrictions from the US side, the Chinese side has been pretty stubborn. And so until we see maybe a deal between the US and China, I would suspect there's nothing there for NVIDIA.
I want to get some other headlines on NVIDIA that we're interested in. Peter Thiel's hedge fund unloaded its stake. SoftBank unloaded its stake. Is that a source of concern for investors in your opinion?
It's not, in my opinion.
How come, Doug?
No, I mean, two things. One is from a demand perspective. I go back to who's buying the end product, and we just talked about there's still tremendous upside to next year's numbers if what he said about 500 billion is accurate, and that number doesn't even include any new orders. That's just existing orders. And so I think the demand is still there. We know that these hyperscalers, they can't build data centers fast enough. So that gives me comfort in NVIDIA. The other thing too is you think about Peter Thiel, you think about SoftBank, you don't know what they're reallocating this capital into necessarily. For SoftBank, it doesn't feel like they're out on the AI trade. It seems like they're probably rotating one of their bigger positions and opening that capital up maybe to invest it in other places in AI. I think they're certainly still long AI. And Peter Thiel, his macro fund, as I understand, his global empire, right, is a relatively small part of what he does. I think at Founders Fund, where he spends much more time, I think they're still very much focused on the AI trade as well.
You were telling clients that stocks were.
Let's see. Any other new things here? Investors, okay, we saw that already. Top Strategies explains how AI trade. Let's see.
Do you see, Marta, are you telling clients you see a correction but not some giant unwind?
Exactly.
Is that it?
Exactly. So I think what we're expecting is some sort of reset based on where these valuations have been. When we look at valuations for tech in particular, but for the broad market overall.
All right, yo, Hebrew, peace out. Out to the ocean for 4 weeks. See y'all before Christmas. Oh boy, get that bag. I don't know if you're going out there for work or pleasure, but hey, do you. Bring us back a shark tooth. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, appreciate you tuning in for sure. We're definitely gonna keep our head on a swivel, do our due diligence, and try not to get chopped up in this market. Conserve some money into the end of the year.
We're in the 9th and 10th deciles. That's where they've been sitting for the past several weeks, for the past few months even. And that to us typically implies weaker prospective returns on a 3-year basis. But that doesn't mean that we think the AI trade is a complete hoax. We think there's real value, there's real productivity gains, there's real substance to what we're seeing among AI. We don't think there is economic froth, though I know that's the market concern today. We don't necessarily think that the sentiment is full throttle, but we do think those valuations need to come down.
You don't see an AI bubble.
No.
How do you define bubble?
Well, I think there's a few characteristics. One, you do have to have the extreme valuations. You also have to have the economic froth. You have to have companies disregard the basics of fundamentals and be chasing after new business lines, loading up on debt. We are seeing the beginnings of that, but it is very early beginnings. In fact, hyperscalers, if you look at from a debt to enterprise value perspective, are still well beneath what you would expect for companies of their heft. So I think there's still room to go before we start saying that the economic levels are frothy. And I think on a sentiment basis, we've seen sentiment reset pretty markedly over the past few days. We've gone from a pretty risk-on environment to an extreme risk-off environment. That would suggest that sentiment didn't get too far ahead of itself.
I guess what gets investors more bullish, though, again, Marta, like on the other side of that correction, would I have to see data that says, do I have to be assured the Fed's cutting? Do I have to be assured the economy is resilient? Like, what do you think I'm looking for to make that turn?
Well, one, I think just the very fact of pricing in a fuller range of outcomes can help stave the losses that we might see. If investors feel like, hey, we're not just pricing in the upside, we know that there's going to be fits and starts along this journey, then potentially just the valuation reset alone is something that can help the markets grind higher. But I also think what we're looking for, investors generally, is continued deployment of AI. So this idea that we're bearing fruit. Now, we did see that in earnings. You see that in cloud revenue, but we're going to want to see that narrative reinforced over the course of 2026, which looks like it's going to be another capacity building.
Well, what if next year I just saw more capacity building? What if that was the theme rather than deployment? How do you think investors would respond?
To be fair, I do think 2026 is going to be dominated by capacity build. When you look at what expectations are for demand and what the ability is to supply that demand, there's still a mismatch there, not just for 2026, but 2027. But I think we're looking for those idiosyncratic stories. You're going to want to see growth upon growth for the cloud revenue in particular. You're going to want to see those stories like Uber coming out and deploying deploying AI, you're going to want to see those kind of checks along the way that suggest that this is beginning to bear fruit.
What about that NVIDIA report tomorrow? How important is that for the market?
I mean, it's a macro indicator at this point. It's hard for me to imagine, given the sentiment today, that we can see an upside surprise. The concern is, even if they do blow it out, that investors are still going to be skittish, just because that's the sentiment in the markets today. So I think it is very critical. I'm not sure, though, even if it's a strong report, that it's necessarily going to tip the scales in favor of a market rally.
I wanted to come back to the other big.
All right, I got a business call over here. Let me see. So yeah, KZAI, we're expecting that one to fail. SGBX, we looked at it, but it's got a lot of competition to do. If we look at the low flow scanner here, KZIA up 10 million, IVP still 11 million. Why is it down 44% but receiving this much volume, right? Why is it still over KZAI is my question. So these that are trapped inside 3 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, they really got to shine to get over these standouts from the pre-market. And look, and these standouts don't even look bullish, right? So KZIA coming on down to the 825s, breaking down that first little uptrend idea, treating it like it's some type of resistance. The next level down is 825. The next level down is 820. And then that all out level, that level that's super dangerous, is that $8 level there. So we just kind of trying to see what it's trying to do, so something else can come up and take its place. But I'm about to get over here to this business call. I'm probably going to get on down here a little early because I don't see anything that I like. So it is what it is. I don't feel like wasting time, and I just received a call, so I'd rather get to the bag earlier than later. I will keep my head on a swivel. Remember, we do have the Discord where we continue conversations about what we see in the market, different news coming out, new news and things like that. Irene just popped on for the high floats. Irene, $50 per share, just reached 1 million shares traded. So very light action in the larger capped tickers that can move with range, at least, you know, above $2 per day, moving, you know, way above $2 per day for, you know, Nvidia or Tesla. But yeah, so yeah, that's it for me today. I'm going to jump over here and get on down. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one, which will be tomorrow morning pre-market. And yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Let's see, what do we want to do? Yeah,